Why did you turn the AC on? It's cold.
You look homeless.
Hey, I'm Soman, and this is a special Story Time with Soman episode of EverNever TV. Joanna's behind the camera, so she's shooting today, and Ramon is off doing something absurd, I'm sure.
So there's no actually the witness.
So it's just me, and I thought I would use this episode to do a little story time and tell you 5 of my favorite stories that I've been thinking about. All sort of funny things that have happened in my life at one point or another, ranging from when I was little to today. So story number 1 involves our resident EverNever TV's favorite pet, named Dougie. He has an owner named Holly, and Holly used to be my neighbor, and I used to take Dougie all the time, and that's how you guys knew him, because he was always in my apartment when we filmed, and so he was always on the show. Then I moved to a new apartment about 5 blocks away, and so I didn't see Dougie as much, but I still see him all the time. Holly got a new job and has been training for the past month all over the country, and she needed to do something with Dougie. I was on deadline for book 4, Quest of Glory, coming out September 19th. If you haven't pre-ordered by now, I don't know why you're watching this show. And she had to do something with Dougie, so she left it with her mom in Palm Springs, California, and said, take care of Dougie for the next month and I'll pick him up. Dougie's grandmother, because it's Holly's mom, likes to feed her dogs a lot, and she believes that Dougie was too skinny. And so she started feeding him like eggs and bacon and gravy like 4 times a day, and it was too hot to exercise in Palm Springs, so he just sat there every day, and when Holly picked him up yesterday, he looked like this. So Dougie has gained 10 pounds. As you can see in that picture, he cannot fit in his chair anymore. He's too fat and he fell off. And he's coming back tomorrow and is being put into doggy boot camp, where he basically is going to be on a starvation diet and walked 4 times a day. Story number 2 happened, I think it was like 1995 or 1996, when I was in school and a big hurricane hit Miami. We had to evacuate because we lived on a place called Key Biscayne that was an island surrounded by water. We ended up going, I think, to Orlando or something like that, somewhere, you know, in the middle of the state where the hurricane wasn't coming. And I remember, like, we were away for 2 weeks because we had lost power in the house. Basically, all of Key Biscayne had been ravaged by this hurricane. And we basically were starting to drive each other crazy. I think my mom had finally broken. They just frantically took the van to the movie theater, the only movie theater, you know, that we could find anywhere near the sort of motel we were staying at. And we go to the theater, my mom's like, 5 tickets for whatever you have playing, you know, we just need to have my kids here for the next few hours, right? And I'm like 6 years old with my brother who's 8, my little brother who's like 5. And I remember the teller looked at my mom and looked at like these 3 little kids who she wanted to dump at the movie theater. And he goes, ma'am, the only movie playing at this theater is Booty Call. So we didn't see a movie. And my 3rd story for the day involves a cruise that I took last summer with my family. All the worst stories in my life happen on family vacations. And if you've ever been on a cruise ship, you know that you have to all eat dinner together every night in this big sort of formal dining room, and it's very fancy. I'm a nightmare customer. I'm basically Sophie, as you all know, right? So the first day I gave the maitre d' a list of instructions, right? Basically being like, I don't want dairy, I don't want gluten, I don't want any of these things. And he sort of gave me this, literally looked at me like he wanted to kill me. And he goes, are any of these allergies? And I was like, yes. He's like, real allergies. I'm like, mm-hmm. Meaning that he had to do anything I said. None of them are allergies. I'm not like deathly allergic to anything, but like Sophie, I like things a certain way. So, cut to the next night's dinner when like the first like real meal happens. Bread looks really good, and like I just was in a mood and hungry. And so I start buttering my bread, and he comes over and he goes, I thought you were deathly allergic to dairy. And I was like, yeah, but it's okay. Every once in a while I can have a little bit. And so he kept coming over. Anytime I touched, like if I sampled anything from like, you know, my parents' plate, or I tried some of the cheesecake or tiramisu or something, he'd come over and be like, how are you feeling? And this went on for like 6 days, where like the maitre d' was like basically at war with me. Each day it got worse and worse and worse. He would bring other waiters over and be like, oh look, he has a death allergy to dairy and he's eating the pasta with cream sauce. And I didn't know what to do, and like my parents started making fun of me. They started telling me not to come to dinner because it was making everyone super uncomfortable and tense. This story doesn't really have an end except for the fact that we're going on another cruise in a week. We're going to Greece and Europe on the same cruise line, and I intend to submit the same list of allergies. Okay, so I was gonna tell you 5 stories, but those 3 took up like 2 episodes worth, so I'll save the other 2 for another time. But this is what happens when you get me talking to a camera on a day where I have no real work to do. So anyway, we'll see you next week, and I promise it'll be relevant to the books. Maybe. We'll see. Bye!